Hey, it's James Denton, and I'm on FrConventions. I do. I met Teri first, which is not always that obvious, even though we were together a lot. But we did work together on the first day, and it was actually the audition scene, the scene that I had to do for the audition, which is where I eat some macaroni that she has brought to the funeral. And it's so bad, but I have to pretend that it's not. And we actually shot that, I think, on the first day. So it was kind of strange because that's unusual. That was the audition scene. So I knew the scene, and I had just barely met Teri one time. So we were getting to know each other as well, which was kind of fun because I knew we were going to be together eventually. So yeah, I got to work with her on day one. So that was it. It was really fun, yeah. I think the popularity of the characters or the couple is because Teri is so popular. I think Susan's character is maybe the one most women related to. Everyone pulled for Susan. They wanted Susan to be happy. So I benefited from that because that made me sort of look like a Prince Charming because they want Susan to be happy. So I sort of, it was more about Susan than Mike. But I do think they made a good couple because Mike was very grounded and Mike wasn't crazy. He wasn't on the street. He was very sort of normal. And I think that helped Susan after being with Carl, who was such a nut, So I think it's a combination, but primarily because people were pulling for Susan. So, they wanted Susan to be happy. No, never, because they were over, and you could tell Susan was so frustrated with Carl. So, but there were others that were, like there was Ian was a character that came through when I was in the coma, when I was in the hospital, and then there was a younger character who was a painter that Susan dated in that same period. Gail Harold was the actor, but I can't remember the character's name. He was younger than Susan, so she dated him for a while. So there were other people that came through that I think Mike was a little bit jealous of, but never Carl. I hate to say it because I love Dana Delaney so much, who played Katherine, but I don't think Mike was ever. I think Katherine was sort of a placeholder. Susan was always his goal, and I think he obviously cared about Katherine, and they had an interesting relationship. But I think Mike was always sort of had one eye across the street to Susan's house, So, like I said, I hate that because I love Dana, and we had so much fun working together. But I think because of the way the characters were written, Mike was always thinking about Susan sort of long term, if she was available again, We knew nothing. I don't think the writers had decided all of that. I don't. I think that all evolved. I think Mark Cherry basically had the first season in his head for sure. Beyond that, it changed a lot. So I don't think, like the fact that Cody, what was his character's name? Zach. It's been a long time. I call him Cody because I know him. Zach, I think when they decided Zach would be Mike's son, that was way late. And all of those connections, they developed over the years. There was not like a big master plan in the beginning. It just evolved. So we didn't know anything. In fact, towards the end, we wouldn't even get a full script. We only got our scenes. So we would not, I wouldn't know what Eva, like what Gabby and Carlos were doing. We wouldn't get to read it because it was such a secret. So it was very strange, unlike any show I've ever been on, where we only got to see the pages that we were in. It was. It's funny because it's not a documentary, so it wasn't really serious. But you want to be as accurate as you can. So just did some research about substance abuse and talked to people personally who had some experience with it. Of course, the being in the coma is silly. It's like a total soap opera convention. So then you just I try to stay awake. I would fall asleep during scenes in the hospital. If you remember, there were scenes where Mike's in a coma and there was Susan and Ian, because they were both in the hospital with their spouses, or exes. And they would be having conversations in my hospital room because I'm in a coma, and I would start snoring. Like, and Teri would kick the bed because it was right in the middle of their scene because they couldn't stay awake. So the hardest thing about that was just staying awake in the hospital bed while they were shooting. And luckily, I think I was only in a coma for about 4 episodes. But yeah, Teri gave me a hard time about falling asleep. Yeah, they were nice enough to call me in and have a conversation about it before I read it. Most people find out when they see the script that they're dying. They wanted to do something big before the finale. Everybody knew the finale would be huge. And they said, what can we do with about 4 or 5 episodes left? And they decided to kill Delfino. When I loved it at the time, because it was really fun. It's a fun special effect. You know, you have an electric wire up one leg and a tube of blood up the other, and they set the charge off and it blows. So as a guy, it's fun to get killed. And then the next episode was my funeral, and the last episode I was a ghost. So I didn't mind it. But in retrospect, Teri convinced me, and I think it's true, she was very upset because she thought it wasn't fair to the fans. And I think she's right, because when you get that attached to a show, you imagine the characters living on. And the fact that Susan was going to have this terrible, horrible, sad existence was not really fair to the fans. So I changed my mind and turned around, and I think it was, I don't like it. And when we did it, I thought it was cool. But now I've talked to so many fans who were really sad. I think it was kind of mean. So yeah, I changed my mind. Yeah, it was fun. I produced that movie and actually talked her into doing it. I told them I didn't want to do the movie if Teri didn't do it. So it was really fun working with her and playing different characters. You still see Mike and Susan, but we were wildly different than we were on Desperate Housewives. In fact, because of the alternate reality of it, she got to play 2 different characters, really, 2 different versions of herself, and which is one reason I wanted Teri, because I knew she could do it, because she's wildly underrated as an actress. She's a much better actress than people give her credit for. And so I knew she could play it. So, and she was brilliant. She was like 2 different people. So it was a lot of fun. I wouldn't be in it because I'm dead. So they can go do one if they want. Maybe I would have an evil twin. Maybe would show up from my past. But yeah, that's the only drawback. Another drawback to them. Even though when they killed me on the show, there were only a few episodes left, so it didn't matter. But if they did a sequel, that would be a bummer, as they wouldn't be me. Yeah, and I think, I think they should, even objectively, even though I couldn't be in it, because I think people would love it. But there's almost no chance it would ever happen for all kinds of reasons. And also, one of them which is Mark wants to leave it. He doesn't want to, revisit it. And I think there's sometimes that happens with sequels. It can actually do some harm to people's image of the show. So I don't think they'll ever do it.